It's hi
Hey,
everyone, it's us again. Yeah, we've already done this. This is episode 130, whatever. For that guy's road. He's the youngster among us. We're all at least 10 years older than him. So
Hey, man.
some
Well,
of us even longer than that.
not quite all of you. One of them's not quite 10 years.
Let's see. I am 15 years older than you. So yeah.
Red's not, though.
No,
I'm
no.
a baby too.
All right, but anyway, none of you want to hear that because we actually have a podcast to do.
To
We
dive right
do.
into.
We have to pick a winner. We'll do that, and then we will start rolling because I'm going to get hungry, and we can't have that. Two choices. The winner is whoever random.org says it is. It's the second one.
okay.
Duh,
Marking
Mal Victus, if you're still with us, you won. I think that's... Was he two or was he...
He's two.
Alright. Win. Alright. Da-da-da. Wow.
Got Audacity rolling. I'm all set to go.
Audacity! Right. That's good. Yep. Let's do that. Right device.
Alright, I think it's working. It's
Test,
been 2
test.
years since the last time I used Audacity. So,
Alright.
I'm only
Well.
recording my audio, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You don't... Yeah, please. Everyone's headset volume's nice and low, so I don't get blowback chill.
Oh, has it not been low enough recently?
We still get that volume jump thing occasionally, so as long as it's just high enough that you can hear us, that's
Alright.
probably ideal. Aussie Holt?
I don't have a pizza for me to mute, so
Oh, right. When he's hungry. Yeah, no, it's not good. Not good. Maybe I'll do that.
Shall we roll?
Yes! Yes! Right. Everyone ready? Everyone recording?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Red. He's nodding. Alright, and eating. That muting with pizza thing, that really did disturb me, I've got to say.
I've never done it. Don't worry.
Metaphorically, you were. Alright, chill. Let's do this.
All right, going in 5 seconds. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that's using an old Jedi mind trick. This is episode 134, being recorded on Wednesday, April 30th, 2014. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And with us today are Road and Red. So, Road, what you been up to?
I've been distracted by many games, but I am still playing Star Wars despite what people think.
Lies. I mean...
And you're one of them! You're one of them!
Excellent. So what have you been playing?
For those that follow me in any way, they know that I've been moderately addicted to Elder Scrolls Online recently, and then I also picked up Thief, the newest iteration, for $15. So I've been giving a go at that, and it's better than I thought it would be.
Oh, good. And how about Instotor?
Mostly Starfighter stuff recently. I've been
Okay.
trying my hand at ground game PvP, but anything sub 55 is all I'm going to do, period.
Okay. Excellent. And you have a note here about KOTOR SWOTOR cannon?
Oh, yes. Apparently we're going to touch on it anyway, but
Yes.
it's believed that the KOTOR and SOTOR cannon will be safe. All that information, all that lore is all good stuff.
We'll elaborate later. Keep going.
All right. And what about your last note, too?
Yeah, I've done a good number of hours of PvP in the last 2 weeks, and it's generally 10 minutes between queue pops, and that's with both Starfighter and regular PvP queued up. So it would be nice if people would actually start playing on Jedi Covenant at any time of the day. It doesn't matter what it is. It's usually there.
Yeah.
And was this for the regular PvP?
Just regular PvP or Starfighter. I have both queues going at the same time.
What kind of server is yours?
It's referred to as Care Bear by some people, but it's a PvE server.
Jedi Covenant is the other PvE server
it's the
along
East
with
Coast.
the Shadowlands on the East
it's
Coast. Yeah.
It's PvE.
Yeah. Should be pretty well populated.
It is.
You
It's
would've
actually
thought.
very well populated. It's just apparently nobody likes PvP.
Ah.
All right.
Very sad.
Yeah. Are you planning on doing ranked this season?
I'm being talked into doing it, but I have this thing against the expertise stat. I think it's the worst thing that this game ever did, and I don't like ever having to do anything with it. So
Yeah, it has issues, that's for sure.
the last time I had any real PvE gear, they turned it into, or PvP gear rather, they turned it into PvE. So I lost
Okay.
my will to work for it.
Partisan or whatever.
I had War Hero. I had just finished my War Hero set, and then they're like, "Oh, that's not PvP gear anymore."
Let's take the expertise off that.
Yeah, they actually stripped the expertise off of it. They didn't just make it irrelevant.
Even then, it was
Indeed.
subpar for PvE gear, so I already had better PvE gear at the time.
Right. Which is also sad. All right. So, Red, how about your week?
Oh, okay. My first note can be ignored. PvP, PvP, PvP. That's really all I've done since the last show. I have actually really I dove in there. I realized that it was coming Tuesday, that the new season was beginning yesterday, and I needed gear. I was able to hit full of Browen with some Brutalizer come Tuesday.
Nice.
And it's been great. I've been queuing up with quite a few different friends, and I've even started reaching out to some people on Twitter. We've got Rikiri here I think his name is Rikiri. I know his real name. Yeah, Rikiri. I've gotten to play with him, Bacon. I'm trying to connect with him. A few other people on the Imp side, as well as people that have Imp tunes, have actually been even willing to hop onto the pub side and play with me over there, along with the friends I've already got. So I've actually been just very actively PvPing and getting anybody and everybody who's willing to play with me to PvP. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun, and I find the more that I'm playing this time, I've had my spells where I dive into PvP and I just really burn through it, and this time it really seems to be scaling up. I just seem to be really enjoying it more and more and more, and I don't know if that's because of having Jacob on and really applying all of his tips and tricks or whatever, but
Right.
I've really
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I've really just enjoyed it so much. Other than that, I did start on Tuesday doing ranked.
Oh, good.
Let's see, at lunch I got a 50-50 win-loss ratio. I don't think I've played the full 10 yet. Did finish the daily, though, so I know I've done that. Yeah, okay, I haven't done 10. Well, I haven't had 10 wins yet, I guess. I haven't finished the weekly.
All right.
But the queues were popping really well at lunch, and then afterwards they're definitely popping, which has been really exciting. You like to see those queues popping, and I did say on Twitter earlier that my professed goal for this season is that in any of my downtime, I'm going to be queuing for ranked PvP, so that no one can ever point the finger at me and say no one was queuing. I can say I was always queuing. It is remarkable how those ranked war zones come in, though. When you're actually doing it and just committed, you don't care whether you win or lose, you just want the queues to pop. Those ranked war zones really do come in. It's great. It's great. Other than that, hopefully we'll get to our Starlight Digest tonight, because that took me a lot of time. So I'm going to try to talk less so we can actually do it.
You've invited the wrong person on this show.
You heard it here, folks. All right, Tio, how about your week?
All right, let's talk rating just for our regular red group. On our first day, we had Betty, also known as Mags, from our guild joined us. We did hard mode Dread Fortress. We cleared up to Corrupted 0. And then the Nightmare Mechanic, which had leaked through. The un-CC ability of the droids. We thought we might try it, see how we went with that. And then we thought, screw it, we'll wait until it's fixed. More on that later. So we then tried Nightmare Nephra a few times, and we're getting pretty close.
We are.
Then on day 2, instead of Mags, we had Cal join us. We did try Nephra, Nightmare Mode Nephra, that's the first boss in Dread Fortress, for anyone who's counting, a few more times, and basically we just don't have the DPS. It turns out they have tightened the enrage, so
Yeah.
you can't just sort of take your time within someone else healing. We did try 3 healers at one point. Didn't go so
Right.
well.
Yeah, enraged with plenty of percentages left of health.
Yeah. Basically, we were all over the mechanics. That was no problem. Having to get at least 6 people have to be standing together in front of Nephra. When she gets up to the 15 stacks, she does her nightmare to an attack. All at least 6 in a group, standing on top of each other. As soon as the cast goes off, everyone moves out. You just keep doing that, rinse and repeat. It's actually quite easy. So, yeah, it just comes down to DPS. So anyway, so we actually then spent the rest of the day wandering around various nightmare modes of other operations. We tried the first boss in Terror from Beyond, the big bug thing. How hard could it be? It's the old operation, remembering that it is still 55 and everything. It turns out it's something of a nightmare. Yeah. So yeah, again, mechanics were fairly straightforward, but we didn't have the DPS. You may see a theme here.
Yes.
And finally, we did try a few goes on Nightmare, Scum, and Villainy, the first boss, whatever it's called, which is the Sandstorm one. Again, mechanics, doable, but again, the increased damage and our lack thereof did kind of take us out. So right at the end, we switched it back to hard mode and just killed him anyway. We wanted to kill something on the night.
Yes, by then.
So anyway, this week, back to it, and we'll see what happens. I suspect we might get up to Corruptor 0 and have a few more goes at him, but again, more on that later. Alright, other things I've been doing. I did Aethys on my Guardian tank. I finally shook the rust off him. I had been sort of doing my healer some. I thought I'd try my tank. I had forgotten a lot of stuff, but it all came back to me. And we randomed into... I should have known. Aethys. Of course it was Aethys. That's what I always get when I do hard modes. But anyway, yeah, that was easy enough. And aside from real life keeping me busy and recording the Galactic Gamers Coalition with Road, Red, and various others on Monday, I also did my first set of PvP matches for, I believe, the first time in 6 months. Seems that it shouldn't have been that long, but it probably was. It was pretty rough. This was just after 2.7.1 had gone live, and apparently the Republic has kind of picked up its game. All the good players have come back or something. So anyway, it was pretty rough. We lost 3, but we did win 1, which was Vanilla Hutball, the Nashadar one. And that was a really good game. I scored twice, came very close to scoring a couple more times. That was with Chill, Jace, and Adam joined us. So it was good running with the guys again. And yeah, again, I was rusty as hell, but I was on my operative healer. It was all coming back to me. He's in full of Browan. Obviously no of the new stuff yet, but I'll try and keep it up. Anyway, that's my week. Over to you, Chill.
All right. Yeah, well, I had a full day of overtime on Saturday, so I was very tired the whole weekend and had family things going on Sunday, so didn't really get a lot of playtime in, but I worked on my PvP Sorcerer whenever I could. Got the weekly done and a little bit more. Also found out on raid night that in French the writhing horror is translated as l'horreur absolue, the absolute horror. So it's not writhing, it's absolute in French. So
yeah, I was wondering if that means that it's a she.
Well,
because that would be the feminine version of absolute.
We know that it's a she because the male comes out and the eggs and all that. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess that I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So yeah, but other than that, a lot of PvP on my store. Didn't get a chance at all to level, but we do have a double weekend XP weekend coming up. So I'm planning on getting back on the Sage this week more. So that'll bring us to the tip of the week. We do have 2 of them, and the first is from the Malgadar. Malgadar writes, this tip is for those players who level a lot of alts. Go to the GTN and buy the encrypted data cubes, as many as you're comfortable with. I personally got all of them. Use them and then go to the collections menu and unlock them for all your characters. When you level an alt, as soon as you get your ship, go and get your all the data cubes out of your collections menu. Then head to Nar Shaddaa and use the terminal associated with the Data Cube quest and select the Major Experience Boost item. If you got all 8 Data Cubes, you now have 8 Major Experience Boosts to use. That's 24 game hours of boosted experience. Wow.
That is an incredible tip right there.
Yes. He continues, on one character this would be a loss, but you'll be saving credits or cartel coins by your second or third character that you use this on. You can also use this for the Balor Boost items if that's more your kind of thing. For the cost of less than 1 month's stipend, you can use this for all your future alts. Pretty slick.
Alright, our second tip is from Darth Malvictus. And he says, when doing ranked PvP, have PvP gear. Personally, I lean towards the mentality that it's just a game and all are welcome. Some, however, are vicious in their gear requirement mentality. Think operations were strict as far as gear requirements go? Wait until your healer refuses to heal you in PvP. I've seen it. Try to have at least 4 or 5 expertise pieces before you jump in. You only get credit towards your weekly if you win. If you are consistently that guy who makes your team lose, you'll gain a lot of fame fast. And not the good kind. That's usually referred to as infamy.
That's right.
That's
All
harsh,
right.
man. Refusing
Yep.
to... Oh,
Well, with the new ranked missions, we're definitely going to see more people jumping in earlier than they would have otherwise. So, but on the other hand, that could be a good thing. In terms of like the low end elo ranked play, because you'll have a lot of people playing without ranked gear, which means that hopefully, if you're half geared, you'll at least be semi decent compared to some of the people at the low end.
Assuming your population supports that, otherwise you're screwed.
Yes. Well, let's hope the missions take care of that problem too, at least partly. So.
it sounded like the Harbinger was popping pretty well, though, because I know Ben B55, before I had even gotten onto my lunch break, which was only a few hours after the servers came up, had already played like 5 matches.
Indeed.
And I was like behind the scenes downloading the patch when he told me that. I was like, what? So clearly Harbinger's picked up for the time being. I hope that's an indication for all the servers and that we actually will have a good season. The dailies are a good addition. I've actually come to really like it.
I thought you said you talk less. Just kidding.
Well, to interject there, I'm looking forward to all these quests because it's probably the only way I'll be able to get anywhere relatively close to geared up. And I'm going to die.
Right. It'll help with gear and also hopefully help it pop. So.
Yeah.
All right.
It's 1,000 rank comms from if you do both weeklies in one day. That's 1,000 ranked Warzone comms.
Wow.
That is a lot. All right. Well, by random allotment, the winner is Darth Malvictus. So congratulations, Darth Malvictus. You're the winner of one of the new M8 pets, courtesy of BioWare, and one of the most recent cartel packs, courtesy of this podcast. And if you have a tip, please send it to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next show for a chance to win the same. And that will bring us to the holofeed. Teal?
Alright, so as I'm sure you're all aware, Game Update 2.7.1 dropped on Tuesday. So we will just quickly run through the patch notes. Let's start with Season 2, ranked, as we've just been talking about. PvP Season 2 is now live. Everyone's ratings have been reset. If you go to the SWOTOR leaderboards page, you will see the refreshed versions for Season 2. I did yesterday update our OotiniCast.com/leaderboards page as well, so that is now reflecting the data for for Season 2. I have not yet made Season 1's available as an archive version, but that will come whenever I get around to it. Alright, we also have those new missions. Again, we've referred to them previously for ranked Warzone dailies, and there's a weekly. I did pick them up just to see what they rewarded. The daily will give you 200 ranked Warzone comms, 200 regular Warzone comms, 10 med packs and 10 adrenals, and the weekly is 400 ranked Warzone comms, 400 Warzone comms, and 15 med packs and 15 adrenals. So I guess that's cool. So we did kind of fear that this is what they would reward, and, well, Yeah. Inevitable. Come on, Red, say something about that.
Because it requires the win, and now that I've been in there playing, and if you think about what elo means, the more people that are there, then the more elo trading can happen, which gives, it's just good. I really don't care. The people that are going to lose are going to lose and go to the bottom. It also lets you get gear faster, which, let's be honest, the gear grind is a pain in the butakas.
Yep.
And season 2, we won't have those same people going for the gear because they'll have had it and either started playing for real or stopped.
Yeah, fair call.
So, I'm happy with it.
All right. We'll mention that Bounty Contract Week is coming week after next. We'll remind you again when it's closer. All right, just going through the actual notes themselves in detail. Bunch of cartel market stuff, which I guess none of us care about that much.
Actually, the Cavern Vractal, I don't know if any of you guys have looked at it, but I tweeted the other day that I thought it looked really cool. But I'm still not going to pay 2,400 cartel coins for it.
Is
That is a bit pricey.
Is it the kind of the dark gray one?
Yeah, it's dark gray, blackish looking, and I still don't have any of the living mounts, but if I get one, I'm going to eventually get a Vractal. I have to try, and I don't want to.
Yeah. And then there's the bolsterizer. I thought that was kind of an interesting idea.
Hang on. Can we just get there?
Sure.
Please.
I
Now, the issue with the flashpoints, the SLS, Black Talon, Boarding Party, and the Foundry, that's been fixed. We've already talked about that. Haven't been in there to try it. As at Frank T800 said on Twitter, that means I can no longer play the minigame Disconnection Roulette. Well. Yes. The Bolsterizer. Now, this has been added to the training area on the Fleet Vanguard vessels. So the Zyos Shadow for the Imps and the Gav Daragon for the pubs. This is the same ship that's got all of the operation entrances on it. So it's actually up on the bridge level. I did go and find it, and you just look on your map. It's the training area. It's clearly designated. What it does is when you click on it, it will give you a buff called Bolsterizer, and that effectively bolsters you as if you were in a war zone. Now, there was a post by Rob Hinkle where he explained why they actually did it. He said, we had enough people going into war zones just to try to view stats and optimize their PvP character that they wanted to at least get this first step. So they're going to be adding training dummies and stuff later, but for the moment, it's just the Bolsterizer device.
Right.
Of course, the reason people were doing that was probably more so that they could work out the exploits in the bolster system. This will obviously make it far, far easier. So let's just hope there are no longer any gaps in the damn system.
Or if they're found, that BioWare actually addresses them quickly.
Indeed. Alright, slight pause as I move through the rest. There was some more of interest I wanted to pick out.
He also said that he wanted to soon bring in an area where you will have the same effect and also be able to duel, which is pretty BA. Because I know a lot of people have been looking for a dueling area on the fleet.
They have been indeed. Though that would be a cool thing to have in like guild flagships and stuff too.
Ooh, yeah.
There were some more notes here, I'm sure. Alright, in the operations, they have actually fixed some of the nightmare mechanics. For example, the simplification effect will no longer place the marked for death debuff on players. That had leaked into hard mode and story mode, which is nice. That was relatively easy to deal with. However, Corruptor Zero, the nightmare mechanic that we have been complaining about for the last show or two, remains. It was not fixed in 2.7.1. I have, shall we say, got it on good authority that this is not intended. They just kind of missed it, and they are going to fix it. So it is being dealt with, but yeah, who knows when. Hopefully we won't have to wait until 2.7.2 in 3 weeks, or whenever that
Right.
actually is. Alright, moving on. Something which is actually really cool, and we didn't really see this one coming, Rackel DNA canisters and the grey helix components from the Rackel Resurgence and the Gree events respectively are now bound to Legacy, which
Yay,
is
that's kind of cool.
amazingly awesome. You can now put them together on whichever character and just buy the stuff, buy all the things. So that is excellent. Of course, it'd be great if those two events came back sometime soon. That would be awesome as well. Also, completed bounty contracts, which are now the currency for the various items that are being. You can no longer get them for credits for bounty contract week from the BBA. You can now actually sell them on the GTN as well. So, completed bounty contracts. That currency is now tradable to other players or sellable to other players, which is
Nice.
cool. Ditto for the recovered relics. Now, these are the items that you get at the end of Korriban Incursion and Assault on Tython, the two new tactical flashpoints. There's
Right.
exactly one drops from the last boss in both. They're used to buy some gear which you may or may not be interested in, but anyway, you can now actually sell the things. So if you don't care about the look, you can sell them to people who do actually want that gear.
Right. Kind of the back to nature-y Jedi look. It's kind of
Right.
it's interesting. It's not my taste, but at least it has a taste. At least there's some flavor there. So I'm sure some people will be interested.
Indeed. Whole bunch more bug fixes. Just skipping down to the last section on war zones. They have added the mission turn in terminals, which I saw yesterday, for
Nice.
every war zone and war zone arena, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
It made sense given they actually had the mission terminals, but this is great. Warzone queue percentages have been reverted to their original states, which basically means the new Quesh Hutball map will not turn up 1/4 of the time.
Right.
Road, were you the one who was saying you never got this?
Yeah, that's me. And I tried today because even Heather got her first instance today. And no dice today. I did get into Danon again, finally, but I got destroyed. I'm not good on open maps.
Yes. Alright, so there was an excellent thread started saying, feedback, never do this again, in terms of boosting the percentage of the new Warzone map. Yeah, and they did respond to that saying, yeah, we hear you, and we're probably not going to do that again. 3 weeks is clearly too long, maybe for a weekend, maybe not at all. So, yeah,
Right.
so they won't do that
I hope they
again.
do it at least a week.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
think 3 weeks was too long. I don't know why they went over 2 weeks, honestly, but if they don't do this again, that's terrible. That's a step backwards, and the whiners win. I mean, you
Yeah.
gotta learn the map somehow.
Right. It helps to learn the map and all that good stuff. And it was disappointing when Hypergate came out and you just wouldn't get it because it had no additional chance to pop, and so it took a long time to learn that one. I think a lot of people are still struggling with that map.
That's true.
Yeah, I've only started liking it this week because of all the new people I've been playing with, and they actually like the map, so I'm doing what they tell me, and finally doing well.
Alright, moving on. Adjusted the matchmaking logic, yada yada. So in ranked, you actually get matched with people without such large gaps in their average rating. So apparently there was a problem. It wasn't just crap population that was actually causing that to happen. There was an actual bug.
Okay.
So in theory, you should be matched with people who either are as good as you or not, as the case may be.
Nice.
Yeah, that particularly for the other side, that's fantastic. Alright, so Warzone scoreboards have been fixed, so they actually will highlight your own team. So, as they had been doing previously, that's been broken for 3 weeks, but that is now fixed. They fixed a few things in the Quesh Hutball pit, which hopefully we won't see much of anymore.
I like that map.
I would love to see it once.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it either, but then I haven't really been trying.
I've been trying,
Till
trust me.
now.
I
That's so funny.
loved it.
1 in 4. You had a 1 in 4 chance of getting it, and you just...
The RNG gods hate me. They always have. Back when I played D&D, I bought my own dice. It was a mistake. I should have just kept borrowing dice because I actually had good rolls with those. RNG gods have always hated me.
Okay. You poor bastard. All right, and the R key is now bound. The R key is now bound to chat reply by default.
Oh,
I'm
great.
sure everyone is happy with that.
I hate that with a passion. R is what
Why?
I use for throw and hut ball.
Ah,
So now I've got to go rebind that.
Yeah,
You know
I'm
what
not-
I hate about this? I went in to do ranked PvP, and R is my stun button. And
no.
because they changed the default, just like when they came out with the frickin' GSF, you know, my hanger window would pop up. Now, every time I would hit my stun button, my chat bar pops up, and I'm using all my spell abilities, and it's just typing. Nothing's
find
going
that
off.
far
I'm
too
spinning in
funny.
circles.
I'll have
Pissed
to-
me off. I lost 2 games because it took me that long to figure out why the hell my chat window kept popping up.
I get the
Right.
same thing whenever I start a new character because H and Y are some of my defense or stun abilities. Or healing if I'm doing a heal. So if I'm starting a new character and I forget to rebind everything, then boom.
Oh wow. Yeah, I had a similar sort of issue, not related to them changing anything, but me switching over to the French client. It's essentially the same, but certain keybinds actually are different. So I was in this is my gunslinger. I was in I would be in cover, and I would use my shield, and it would actually do something else that would actually move me, and it would actually pop me out of cover. So it was completely wrecking my game until I figured out what the heck was going on. So yeah, so beware there in the French client. Yeah, there can be slight change, not very many, but just a few of the non-letter changes can change, and it can mess you up. So I don't know about this R one on my Nostromo. I don't think I have R bound to anything, but I might have to find that out the hard way.
Red. That is funny. Anyway, let's move on. So 2.7.1 now live. Next in the news, we should just mention it is May the 4th coming up, and that is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. So to celebrate that, SWOTOR is doing its double XP weekend, starting at the usual time, which is Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 7 p.m. in Britain, and for us Australians, really, really early in the morning on our Saturday. It will run through to midnight on Sunday, Pacific time, and for us in Australia, sometime in the afternoon on Monday, usually about 4 p.m.-ish. So yeah, double XP, May the 4th.
All right.
We should also...
Friday, May 2nd, and ending on Monday, May 5th at midnight, basically. So the end of May the 4th.
Yep. Everyone also got if you log in anytime between, Tuesday and the end of May the 4th, you will receive the Adventurous MT-40 astromech droid, which will follow you courageously as you join with friends to overcome incredible challenges, yada yada.
I get it.
so
It's
you
as close as you can get in
to
droid
May
speak to May the 4th. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a little. He's very R2-y. He's a little blue astromech. So. Yeah.
And that is for everyone, not just subscribers, free to play and premium as well.
Nice. Is it one of those things where if you log in on one character, it'll unlock for all of them, even if you don't log in on that character until after the weekend?
I don't know because there's no way to test it.
Great,
the-
now I can
the
go
phrasing,
log in all my
yeah.
20 characters.
Yeah, I agree. The phrasing does imply that you actually have to log into the character to get it, but that is not confirmed. I'm not going to log into 39 characters. I'm just not. So.
Yeah, no, I might kind of make a slight effort, do a few crew skills on characters that I play a lot, but yeah, I'm not going to go back to all of them either.
I guess we'll find out on May the 5th. All right, we should also mention that you do have to be subscribed by Sunday, May 11th. so Sunday week, to actually get the early benefits, subscriber benefits for Galactic Strongholds. That'll give you the Sky Palace and the 5 rooms unlocked, valued at 4 million credits. And you also get the Subtaroth mini pet. Now, Red was querying what the hell is a Subtaroth. Friend Rue actually did clarify this. They're the spiky subterranean beasties that first appear in Makeb. You encounter them in the caves on the volcanic Mesa on Makeb.
Right, those things.
And they're sort of, they are bipedal, sort of vaguely humanoid, but yeah.
Hammerhead-looking things, elbows that are built to kill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they also turn up on Oricon as well. So anyway,
Subtaroth,
that's a Subtaroth. So you get your own mini pet of those.
Yeah. Never ride on a Subtaroth subway, because you'll just be elbowed to death.
Right. Okay, next, if you found yourself stuck in a war zone, unable to move no matter what you try, and agents and scoundrels will be familiar with this effect, with the Scamper Exfiltrate bug, where if you happen to be hit with a ballistic effect, you'll be locked in place. There's a couple of other variants of this. Alex Modney posted on the official forums. They are actively looking at it. So if you have any information that will help them track it down, please post in that thread. I'll link it if you haven't found it already. So it would be nice to get that finally sorted. Variation had turned up. Now, game update 2.8 is supposed to be deployed onto the PTS tomorrow, the 1st of May. And by the time you hear this, it may already have gone live, unless they delay it, in which case you won't hear this because I'll probably cut it out. Anyway, so the only thing that we know is in there for sure is hard mode Dread Palace. Presumably it's going live to give people a chance to actually try it out. Give the progression guys at least something to play with, though maybe they will actually have the other content in there. So we'll actually find out what the hell is in 2.8. We know that Bruce McLean's roadmap is going to come out for the rest of the year, or at least a good chunk of it, which should tell us, but Musco confirmed today it's actually not going to be this week, maybe next week is when Bruce will get that letter out. So we just don't know. The only other bit of content that Ben B mentioned or reminded me was that in his original roadmap, Bruce McLean had mentioned that there was a 5th ship role being added to Galactic Starfighter. Though immediately after that, Eric Musco said, nah, not so much.
They took that out too?
The plan for adding that has been delayed indefinitely.
Yeah.
They reckon that GSF is in a pretty good place, but they did mention there's going to be a new bomber and gunship variant added in 2.8.
Oh, this is lame, man. This is killing me. I really need... I've got 40 comms. I want to consume them. Or sorry, turn-ins, whatever, consumables. Dailies.
You can get your new bomber and gunship. Come on.
I've actually got over 40 now that I think about it.
Oh well, spend
I
those.
wonder how variant these variants will be. I mean, if they're going to be like, really a major change, or just, slightly different combinations of this and that.
Maybe they'll be a little more attack focused, maybe like the bomber at least, because the other ones that are present seem to be more support focused or defense focused. And
Could
you've
be cool.
got the Clarion, and I forget the name of the Scout that recently came out, which are all both support based. So
Right.
maybe it's I would like to see some kind of purely offensive bomber.
So seriously, why don't they just bump all of 2.8 back? I mean, I wasn't bothered by the delay of Strongholds, but now they're bumping GSF2. Like, is the only thing that they're actually gonna hold true to? Like, they give us a date, they have everything there, they say, okay, we're gonna move this one thing. No, it's only the Nightmare Operation.
Well, they did actually give the reason for it, is that they are actually having to put more resource into that unnamed, undefined other expansion that is coming up later in the year, and whatever's leading up to it. So
That's why they're not doing GSF.
that's why they're not adding the new role. So they have reshuffled their resources around a bit. So
I don't know.
as good
Now
a
I'm
reason as any.
that they can't meet their dates. That I wasn't before. Now I'm gonna. I know I don't want to be negative, and I'm gonna shut up because I didn't want to stop talking, but I'm disappointed.
All right. So there was a live stream today, a bit earlier before on Wednesday, before we recorded, featuring writer Charles Boyd, Ben, and Eric Musco. So they played through the Korriban Incursion tactical flashpoint. Ben was the one playing on some kind of commando. He just randomed in, and took him ages. That first big droid boss, the one who does the circles, the big circle and the little circles, it took them forever, and they almost wiped. It was pretty funny. In fact, 3 of them were dead, and I think it was Marauder, finally finished it off.
Wow.
But he was almost dead
Marauders
too.
are God mode.
Yes, they are. But anyway, just a few points I pulled out from the live stream. What we thought was Yesselis is actually pronounced Esselise, according to Charles Boyd. Esselise.
Yes, Elise.
Yeah.
Absolutely call it Esselis.
Yeah.
I think
They should have
that's
spelled
true.
it differently if they wanted
Indeed.
it Esselise.
Unless he was trolling us. Definitely. There will eventually be hard modes for all the tactical flashpoints. No time frame for this, which is what obviously
That would
we
be
all
cool.
want.
Yeah,
Maybe
we definitely want
2016.
that.
It was mentioned that tactical and regular flashpoints are not typically designed to prevent soloing, as in putting in specific mechanics to make it impossible, but they
Right.
sure as hell don't make it easy, and that's by design, and that's one of the reasons why Kolto stations can't be used outside of a group.
Right. That by itself is enough to discourage all but the most hardcore
Yep.
soloists.
Ben mentioned that the initial pulls in flashpoints, such as that initial pack of droids in Hammer Station, once you go around the corner, are deliberately designed to be difficult because they're intended as a gear or skill or level if
Okay.
you're doing a pre-55 check. So I always wondered about that, why there were some really nasty pulls like right at the beginning. That's why.
That makes sense. That way, if you really are undergeared, you'll find out right away, as opposed to halfway through when you've already spent 20 minutes or maybe way longer wiping.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen so many pugs die at that point.
Oh yes. Yeah, those 2 big droids and everything else, it really does hit hard. If you're on the healer and your group doesn't know what it's doing, you're dead almost straight away.
Yeah.
Anyway, he also said new tactical flashpoints are intended to be easy and thus accessible, so as many players as possible can directly experience the story, which is more or less what you would expect. And they're not intended to be replayable content. Of course, if you've got your decent gear, you play through it to see the story, you're done.
Right.
Until the hard modes come out. And finally, Charles Boyd did quash the theory that all the story content we're still experiencing and it is being done was actually all written before launch. That's not true. And it's all new stuff, basically. Though there's a lot of pre-existing characters that are being recycled, or, well, their stories continue. Now, at the end of the stream, they showed the first episode in what is apparently the Galactic Living series. A bunch of teaser trailers for Galactic Strongholds. It featured Jack Wood, who's the producer in charge of Galactic Strongholds. The first one was about the Nar Shaddaa Sky Palace. It is now available on YouTube as well. It's fairly short, and you don't see much, but what you do get an indication of is, as Greg Carter said, the damn things are huge. I mean, the Sky Palace itself, you get an exterior view at the end.
Yeah.
It's massive. He mentioned adding balconies and
Stairways.
staircase. And
Yeah.
it's just amazing. Ferris Terran commented, and if you look carefully on the actual staircase, up on the wall, there is like carbonite guys. He wondered whether it's like bounties that we capture. You could actually have up on your wall.
Like
Someone
from the
took
Bounty
my
Hunter
exact
event.
same idea. I thought it might have been the Kingpins from the Bounty Hunter event.
Yeah.
Right.
And it further proves the Star Wars is much more superior at decorating walls than Facebook.
But was there any doubt?
To be frank, what's impressive to me is the mention of the staircases, because a lot of people are like, well, how many rooms can you get? Well, clearly you can get more than one floor. How
If you
many
look at the
floors can
thing,
you get?
I'm wondering if 5 additional rooms is actually the maximum. These things are just vast.
No,
Just truly vast.
just the staircases alone. Like, I can envision a way that you could have a circular doorway thing leading out for 5 rooms, but you get much beyond that, you have to start going up, and then you can do just as many rooms on every floor. I mean, I could see 20, 30 rooms being real easy.
I think the clear indication we're getting here is you will have plenty of room to put all your crap. So, as much crap as you possibly can, you'll never run out of space for it. Great.
Yeah. Hopefully there'll be little walls, and someone will end up making like a maze or a labyrinth out of some of these huge rooms. That could be fun.
Not a bad idea. Yep. All right. Now, one of my favorite news items is, of course, the class representative program, where they have answered another 3 of those top questions, this time for Guardians and Jugs. Anyway, and I will summarize. The first question was, would the developers consider improving Guardian and Juggernaut survivability by giving the Focus Rage, the Smash build, a short cooldown mitigation defensive, or by making Guardian Leap Intercede easier to use under pressure? And what they actually replied was, it's pretty funny. They actually reckon that Guardian and Juggernaut survivability is actually a bit too good at the moment. In fact, they're going to nerf it and use the duration of focused and enraged defense down to 10 seconds. Currently 30. 30 seconds, really?
That's a long buff. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that little nerf is coming in 2.8, and even though Focus Rage are intentionally designed to have less survivability than the middle tree, sacrificing that survivability for greater mobility, so basically you're supposed to use your leap more and control. That's the extra leap you get, the Zealous Leap or Obliterate, and other stuff. They reckon that there may still be a problem here, but the way they're going to improve it is by doing something clever with the Guardian Leap or Intercede for the Jugs. So, and they're after ideas about how to make it better. Maybe you'll be able to use it when stunned, or as a way of getting out of the stun as a thing, or something. So anyway. So yep, the answer to that question is, yeah, we're not going to improve your survivability. So, well, we're going to kinda, but it's going to make it hard. We'll do that later too. So yeah, Smash Monkeys, well, oh well. Do the developers have plans to increase the single target sustained damage of, well, it's the Smash guys again, the right-hand tree, and provide the additional tools to make them more desirable to in-game PvP, PvE, and PvP content? And the answer is
No.
nah, sorry.
Come
And
on,
that's-
just like every other class, one tree is going to be better for single DPS than another.
They might do it eventually, but really, because of the good AoE, the whole Smash thing,
Right.
yeah, not going to happen.
Vigilance
And
or
they're gonna-
bust.
Say that again?
Vigilance or bust.
Basically. Yep. Middle tree. Middle tree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This question
Yeah.
is actually starting to sound like a community cantina question. It just keeps coming up, and it's the same answer every time. Stop asking.
Yeah.
No matter what class you are, don't ask this question.
In fact, we might nerf you. No, they did say that.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny, though.
That would be awesome, though.
And finally, this question is actually legitimate. Not that the other one wasn't. Do the developers have any plans to merge or replace similar or lackluster talents to reduce the Vigilance, Vengeance, Middle Tree bloat? And yeah, apparently there's 46 available skill points that you can actually put into that particular tree. So yeah, they're going to try and reduce it down to 44, 42, so you can actually point points in the other 2 trees.
Nice.
And so they'll do something clever with that.
Cool.
It probably means a bit of a buff. I mean, there's really no way to I mean, unless you just completely remove whatever utility were in those points,
Or just
And-
combine them, also.
But exactly. But as soon as you start
combining.
combining them, it's gonna be a buff. So
Yep. Very cool.
we'll see.
So there you go. It's not all bad news.
I did kind of want to expand on what Red said there for a second, though. You know, since we've already got information about strongholds and guild ships, and obviously Starfighter's out, so we can't bring that up at Cantinas anymore, and we can't stop them from asking questions about it now because we all know it's out there. What we need to start this is if you ask these same questions over and over again, we will nerf your class. And in order to do that, before anyone asks a question, they have to name what their primary class is. There you go. Easy way
I
to
love
get
it.
all these questions just stop being asked. Get some new content.
Genius. Genius.
Spiteful, but genius.
Well, whatever. And last in the news, this isn't SWOTOR specific, but it is Star Wars. And I guess we're all getting very excited about Star Wars with, Star Wars Rebels, Episode 7. However, this could be considered not exactly good news, depending on your point of view. Anyway, the expanded universe, they have finally clarified what is going to happen. And there was a nice news piece. There was also a 6 or 7 minute video about it from Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Disney, whoever. And the bottom line is that the EU, the expanded universe, is more or less everything that's, not like in the movies or in the Clone Wars cartoon, is more or less invalidated or no longer necessarily true. It has all been delegated as Legends status. Now, this would appear to primarily apply to everything that is post-movies, so post-Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, so that the new movies, Episode 7 going forward, everything else has a clean slate. Anything could happen. Chewie may not, actually. Anyway. Let's not forget that.
Maybe get my moon and die. Oops.
Well, Peter Mayhew is...
Hey, I'm cool with that. That also means
for
the Emperor
Episode
might not have
7.
come back as a clone.
That'd be so nice.
And no of those... What were those guys? The something... The invading things.
The Sirook.
Chong thing? Tong? No?
Oh, Yuzin Vong.
Galun Fong.
Oh, the Yuzong, yeah.
Yeah, those guys may not turn up. Though, Thrawn. No Thrawn. That's a bit...
Well,
I know
what
the
about
truth
Kyle
absences.
Katarn? I need to know that Kyle Katarn is safe.
Well, anyway. So,
Well, what's
you can think of-
interesting is from the Clone Wars, you at least know that things like Bane and the Rule of Two are safe because those were referenced in Clone Wars, and they said the Clone Wars is just as valid as the movies.
Yes.
And so a
Yes.
lot of anything you see in the Clone Wars TV series that actually references some of these books and whatnot, and Sidious did name Plagueis as his master, so the Plagueis book is probably true. Like, there are quite a few things like this that we can at least know are true all before the movies.
Yeah, you can kind of think of this like what happened with Star Trek and the reboot of the movies, where some event changed history, so there's this whole future history that's gone kind of out there. None of it happened. But as we actually move forward into real history, which is what will be in Episode 7 going forward, and the other movies are going to be doing, there may obviously be parallels, and some of the stuff in the current expanded universe may actually be picked up, such as Thrawn or whatever. So,
Here,
it's not
genius
all bad.
Genius idea for J.J. Abrams. Begin the movie with a cut scene of the most recent novel written in the expanded universe, like in the latest portion of the time frame. Start with a scene, a final scene from that, and then have Luke wake up.
And he's still a moisture farmer.
Yeah.
Indeed. So now the obvious question for us as SWTOR players is what's up with the Old Republic? Now, in theory, based on what they're saying, none of it is canon. Not that it ever was real canon, so to speak. It was one of the other letter canons. But this is where you see the real genius of setting the Old Republic 3,000 years before the current era. No matter how they monkey with it, it doesn't matter. So this is obviously from KOTOR and SWTOR, so the Old Republic has more or less been carved out entirely by BioWare.
Yes.
So that doesn't mean that they won't do movie stuff that will invalidate it, but until they do, you can pretty much consider it kind of safe.
Right.
Even if it does have a Legends status, which is the banner they're going to be using for all the existing novels, which never happened. And they are writing new books. They already announced a few with some of the writers who have already contributed. So, and that stuff is real. That did really happen. Because apparently going forward, they've got a new continuity team, sort of like the old one, but these guys mean it this time. This will never happen again.
Until the very next reboot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. All right, and last in the news, we will also mention last couple of days they have announced the cast for episode 7. So it was a bit early. We thought they might do it on Star Wars Day, May the 4th, but no, they have announced it. The big three, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, are all back, reprising their roles. And there's a great picture with J.J. Abrams and a bunch of guys, including Peter Mayhew playing Chewie is there, Anthony Daniels, C-3PO, R2's there in a crate in the back. And there's 7 new actors actually announced officially, only 1 female, and take that as you will. And yeah, so we don't know anything else, we don't know what roles they're playing, we don't know a damn thing, but yeah. Episode 7, it's coming soon, 2015. Very cool.
Right. Well, I like Max von Sydow there. I'm sure he'll be a bad guy. He's played bad guys now for a long time, and he brings a certain weight. So that'll be good.
Yeah, no downside here. It's all good. Anyway, that's the news.
All right. Let's see. That'll bring us to the community corner. First, let me give a shout out to the chat room. Let's see. We've got Ari's here, RPG, Ben_B55, Gaddick Teague of the Unnamed Swotor podcast, Ghostmere is here, Lol C01, Pez, let's see, Beware 2, Caligari, Dured, Dirta, Ferris Terran, Gas Guy, General 2K, Malvictus, Rikiri, and Voyak are all here. So hi everyone, that's a lot of people today. And let's see, we'll start off here with the Utini Templars rating report. We had great plans to head back into Dread Fortress hard mode this week, but alas it was not to be. My PC died on Wednesday, so I couldn't raid, and my absence disheartened the group so much that they could only manage to pug a 16-man Taboro Courtyard story mode and hard mode run that night. /sigh. The next night, Greggles was unable to join us because he was too busy getting drunk in real life. So we only ended up doing Terror from Beyond story mode for the weekly. And then a Codex Corner by Gas Guy. And this week in the Codex Corner, we learn that an updated guide listing for titles has been posted at Dolphy.net. From the guide, I quote, a list and guide of all the titles currently available in SWTOR and their methods of acquisition. Updated for patch 2.7. This was last updated on April 24th, 2014, unquote. The drop-down path on the site to the guide is SWTOR, Galleries and Catalogs, then the Titles Guide. So how many titles are there? Want to take a guess? Red, Tio?
I would guess 270.
Ha! Not even close. This guide lists 270.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yes, you can read ahead.
Yes.
But for you dedicated Codex hunters, keep in mind that this is a mixture of Codex titles and achievement titles. The in-game listing only shows a total of 112 titles for the Codex, and unfortunately, Dolphy's list does not
differentiate. So it doesn't show the Cartel Coin ones either?
He doesn't say which one either. It does not differentiate between which are Codex and which are achievement acquisition. Of interest to you PvPers, there are 5 new titles from Season 1 of the PvP, starting with the highest. Season 1 All-Star, that was the 1500 rating. Below that, Amateur, Rookie, Champion, Professional, and Rookie. Actually, that's not in order, so...
No.
There was
Rookie, All-Star, Champion, Professional, Amateur, Rookie.
Right, so it's All-Star at the top, then Champion, then Professional, then Amateur, then Rookie. So, yeah, I managed to squeak out Amateur. So, and that seems to imply that titles might be prefixed with Season 2, Season 3, and so on. For you Codex trackers, Gasguy will be updating his Codex tracking spreadsheet to sync his data with all of Dolphy's information. So if you want to have the title of Dragon Slayer or Epic Hero or Gladiator, give the list a look through to get an idea of what you have to do. And finally, remember, we can all get the title Worm Food. You just take a trip to the Dune Sea on Tatooine and make a jump into the Sarlacc pit. And Tio, you have a few things to say.
Right, Galactic Strongholds. Dolphy has a post up that is a compendium of all the latest Strongholds information, though we still do recommend SWOTOrista's SWOTORstrongholds.com site.
Yeah.
All your Strongholds needs, and with the video and all this other stuff, I suspect there's just going to be more and more stuff as we go forward. The community cast with Road, he has published it already. Fantastic work, sir.
Yay, me!
Yep, you can... Now, in theory, by the time you hear this, it will actually be in iTunes. But in case it's not, I will add instructions on how to actually subscribe to it in our show notes. You have to use the RSS feed. You can do that in iTunes or directly on your iDevice. You just paste the RSS feed directly into Safari search bar or into the podcasts, your podcast apps search thing. I don't have an iPhone. I don't know what it is. So anyway, yes. And finally, in our guild news, we are still trying to organise that 16-man, which will run on Fridays Pacific time at 4:30 p.m. for us Australians. It is on East Coast time 9:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. So hopefully we can manage to get 16 with a few Aussies. Maybe some of the Templars want to get out of bed a bit early, maybe, and join us, and we'll do some 16-man content.
That would be cool.
That's it.
Great. That'll bring us to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And the Malgadar wrote in, quote of the week 133, "It would be good if you could have a Gungan hunting reserve. Simon's suggestion for housing add-ons." With genius ideas like that, how has BioWare not hired you yet? At Mancephalus writes, just re-listening to the last cast, could you mass summons your guild to a difficult-to-reach Datacron location?
That is genius.
Interesting
Never
idea.
thought of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that, especially the Tatooine one.
I still haven't gone back to McKeb after a couple of failed attempts. So, Master Co writes, looking for a shout out. That's a sweet show, and England loves you. Well, thank you, Master.
Yay, the mother country.
Adam Schumpert, our favorite artist, writes, was listening to episode 133 and thinking about Galactic Strongholds, and what would be cool in addition to displaying your mounts would be a Galactic Starfighter garage as well.
That would be nice.
Hangar,
The things-
essentially.
Starfighters are just big.
They are big, yes. And they don't like to cheat on the size. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember even before the game came out, they said, like, if you run around your ship outside in the hangar and then go inside your ship, it's actually the same size. They don't use all the little cheats that games tend to use for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. But, maybe a model of them or something.
If you get a balcony, maybe you can have them all parked on a giant balcony.
Yeah, hovering.
That's
or
a
maybe
great
there could be a
idea.
hangar on the guild ships. That'd
be
be
cool,
a
too.
place to have it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That does logically makes the most sense. Right, Shamar of the Old Republic Dads Guild on the Shadowlands. In a previous letter, I had expressed some mild concerns about the upcoming Strongholds expansion, especially with reference to guild ships. I take it all back. After listening to episode 133 and hearing about the guild events, I'm actually really stoked. I feel like the guild ships are going to be epic. Congratulations, OotiniCast. You managed to get me excited about that which I was ambivalent to, at best. And yes, the idea of having my own speeder garage makes me want to say, shut up and take my cartel coins already. I also want to echo Red in saying congratulations and thank you for all you do for the SWOTOR community.
I presume that means about you guys being the longest running hosts.
Right.
Absolutely. I was actually thinking about that myself when we were doing our anniversary show a few weeks back.
Yeah.
Trying to think of who's still in the community who's been around the longest.
Yep. Thank you. Thross of the Harbinger writes, I'm rolling my eyes, shaking my head, and shaking my fist at BioWare over the delay of Galactic Strongholds to August. I think BioWare is not putting out content fast enough to keep people interested in the game, especially if you're a raider or like story content. putting out a Nightmare version of Raid is not new content. We really need a new Raid or two, and or a level increase, to keep players engaged. My Harbinger guild, that used to have 16 to 23 members on most nights, is now seeing a pattern of low numbers, like 4 to 7 members that are on. I'm worried about the future of SWTOR and my guild if this lull in content continues. I'm hoping that 2.8 will have some meaty content that me and my guild will be excited about, because August is just too far off. Yep. All right. Yeah, you're starting to hear that. I mean, obviously, there's always the bleeding edgers who, wipe through content like crazy. But once the people who are just sort of, semi-serious, moderately serious, and they're starting to run out of stuff to do, then you need more stuff. So
I would agree with the story part completely, being that I played this game mostly for the story,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm already to the point of doing all the class stories again. I mean, I finished all the class stories a long, long time ago, but the overworld story, there's just nothing really new coming out for me. And even May thinks that even if she is one of the people who blows through all the endgame raid content as fast as possible, she believes that even Nightmare is not an excuse for more content. It's just an upgraded form of the same stuff.
Right. Yeah. And I did like the the Corbin and Typhon's flashpoints, and that is more story. But it does go pretty quick. I mean, you do it once on each side, and you're pretty well caught up. So, all right. JB wrote in. I hope they introduce an easier way of changing gear soon, so I can get into my jammies and UGG boots when chilling in my Sky Palace. Yeah. Let's see. Bear wrote in, I'd like to ask you about an in-game situation I find myself in. My original character in this game was a Jedi Knight. I joined a guild for the XP and rep bonus over a year ago. For the most part, I'm a solo player, and I'm more interested in completing the class stories than raiding or high-level PvP. I was not a guild officer, and nor did I participate in guild events. About 6 months ago, I received the message that I was now the guild master, and had access to the items in the guild bank. I have not seen an active guild member in well over 6 months, and maybe have 50 or so members that appear offline. In January, I posted a guild message stating that I was going to empty the guild bank, items, no credits, in 2 months, and if anyone wanted the materials or equipment, to take it. I also said to notify me if anyone was interested in taking over guild leadership. I've received no reply yet. This is my first MMO, and I'd like to be fair to the other players. My questions are, am I free to take the gear from the guild bank and do with it as I please? Should I keep the guild open, even though I'm the only active player? Is there any opportunity, financial or otherwise, in having an inactive guild? I know there are significant costs to open a guild and a guild bank, so should I treat it like an asset that I can sell? So what would you guys do if you're in my position? If I were to advertise this guild on General Chat, I would use something like this. A completely inactive guild run by an extremely casual player who has limited interest in raiding PvP or RP or setting up a website is now recruiting. The first 10 people to sign up will receive my warmest personal regards. What do you think? And prior to the Stronghold announcement, I was going to use it as a legacy storage. If things play out the way you guys think, it won't be necessary to do so. Wow.
I reckon you should sell it, basically.
Sell it in-game for however many credits you can get?
Yep, absolutely.
Empty
It's
the bank.
effectively an asset. It all depends. Its value is equal to exactly as many guild tabs as you have open in the
bank.
world.
Yeah.
Yep. It has no value aside from that. If they haven't opened any, I would just disband the guild or whatever. But yeah, it really is just a guild storage.
Right.
Since he's mentioned in the guild bank, clearly they have at least one tab. So yeah, just find out the exact values for that, and that's your value.
There's also
to
some
ask for it.
value, is there not, to the experience gain that you get from being in the guild?
Only if you have...
That's based off of active users, and there are none.
Yeah.
There is a base value which you would get,
Yeah.
but it's not much. He'd be far better off joining an active guild that has at least the
That's right.
minimum 50
Right.
accounts.
Now,
It's base 5% experience that goes up to 10, and then what's the other one?
Rep goes up as well.
Yeah, rep only goes
Reputation.
up with active, so he's probably got 0.2%, I think, for
Right, for one
Rep.
person, for himself, yeah.
Doesn't having the guild leader as a subscriber also give a bonus? Because I know that on my old server, I happened to pop over there, and one of my characters was still in an alt guild that we used to have back in the day, and they transferred the guild leadership to me. The guild leader at the time transferred it to me because I was an active subscriber.
Hmm.
There are some limitations on the guild. I don't think they're bonuses exactly. I don't recall what the limitations were.
Right, like you can't do certain things basically if you're unless your guild leader is ranked. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly what they are, but yeah, I mean he's done. You know, if he was jumping on this, you know, that'd be a different thing. But he's done his due diligence. I mean, he's tried to give away whatever he could give away to the players who were
Oh,
in it.
yeah.
He's left
Yeah.
messages on their old boards and stuff. He's kept an, you know, it seems like he's kept an eye out for, you know, people who might have you know, played and actually jumped online. But yeah, so at this point, it's not taking advantage of anyone else. So I think it's fair game.
I agree.
Absolutely. No moral responsibility in any respect to the members who've left.
Yeah.
So,
Especially since he was given it without without being asked.
exactly.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. And he seems like one of the good guys. Seems like a nice guy. So, yeah. Good luck with that, Bear. At Dark Splat writes, I never knew about the Diamond Defender medal in Warzones. Have you guys come across it? The medal.
And this is above platinum, and the screenshot he sent us, I couldn't quite make out, based on the resolution, what exactly how many defender points he had. It looked like maybe 12,000, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe more.
Anyway, so yeah,
I've seen
Diamond
it
Defender.
once.
Yeah,
I've seen it once a long time. Because isn't that just above platinum, I think, is what it is?
that's what I just said.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. So, yeah, it's. I think the
Oh.
only time I saw it was because it was in an Alderaan match. I had grabbed grass immediately, and then no one got middle for
right.
like 5 minutes.
Right.
And then after that happened, middle kept swapping, but I never got attacked, so I was just sitting there doing nothing the whole time.
Yeah, so you got more than any normal match would have even gotten. That makes sense. I was gonna say, yeah, I
it
wouldn't
says
even know how you go
15,000.
around getting that. I guess another possibility would be like if you held one node in Navarre Coast and then the others just weren't captured for a long time, and you were just defending the one that was captured.
I've tried that before, and no dice.
Takes a long time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a rare one. So congratulations if that was you getting it there, Dark Splat. Because that does seem like a rather rarity in the game.
Let's speed through the rest as fast as we can because we do want to get the red section.
Okay.
Red, just produce a note. We're going to skip all that stuff with Ufalong, and we will cover that next week or something. Probably as its own digest, actually.
Okay.
Do you
Or
want
not.
me to mention just the basic primary power stat decision for augments? No, okay.
Well, actually, yes. Mention that in passing, and then we'll talk about it. And say we'll cover it in detail next week.
Do you want me to say it right now?
Yes.
Okay. So, in returning to some of our tweets that we received this week, as well as messages we got last week on the show, we did want to revisit the concept about augmenting for primary stat versus power. I am in talks with several important members of the community, as well as nightmare operations leaders and whatnot, and at this stage, it is definitely still very important, and we will in the future be talking about some of the math behind this, but primary stat far outweighs power.
For your augments. Yep.
Yeah, for your augments.
And as a tease, our guildmate Turg has been doing some research that implies that in the highest level of gear, crit may not be as terrible as you may think. But again, we will explain the detail behind that later.
All right. Ferris Terran wrote, I vote for our Galactic Strongholds presence to be called Utini Holdings. Works for me.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
And Rub has an idea, just an idea for PvP Season 2 rewards, a special metallic armor die. Gold for the top tier, silver for the second tier, bronze for the third.
I like that.
That would
Yeah.
be cool. We haven't seen
Can
any
they do
metallic
it more
dies
than
yet.
once, though?
Right, unless it unlocked or something. Unless it was an unlock. All right. Chaz Lobo. Let's see.
This is a visual gag.
Visual gag, yeah. We'll put in the show notes. There's an alarm clock that's designed for you to be able to. You have to pick up a little ray gun and shoot the middle of the target once to turn the alarm off, and then it blew out a picture of the stormtrooper saying, "I haven't slept for days." That's good. The Pummeler wrote in, remove all stats from color crystals and make them random drops throughout the game. Darth Kenji, how about scrapping all the colors crystals that artificers make and replace them with 41-point stat ones? I hope they do something, because in some instances I really want a red crystal. I'm a Sith, damn it.
So they have talked about this in the past. They want to make color crystals purely cosmetic. As far as all the ones with existing stats on them, what they would, I think, do is just strip the stat off and just rebalance the power curve, so the and assume plus 41 for everyone, more or less. That would be the effect. So again, no timeline on this. We have no idea what they'll actually bother, but
yeah,
it'd be nice.
They hinted this a long time ago, over a year, I think.
It's come up several times.
Yeah.
In various places. Yeah.
And it looks like the Pummeler also wrote, I would love it if the Rat Ghoul event returned without any notice. That would be cool.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, I got to do something in 2.8. Rat Ghoul, Grebe, whatever.
I'll go ahead, Tio.
All right. I had a conversation with Laurie M. talking about a particular. Actually, there were a couple of players who she encountered on the fleet who she didn't recognize, but they were in any war zones, and she PvPs a lot, obviously, and they had a Rancor, so they had achieved somehow 1500 plus rating. And looking at that individual on the leaderboards for Season 1, it was pretty clear they'd won like 16 games, so more or less and judging by the number of kills, there were not many losses in there. So it implies that somehow they just got zipped up to 1500. And looking at the gear, it was kind of crap in terms of PvP players. So the player is probably, they don't PvP much, they got really bad gear, so even if they did, they'd probably be bad at it. And yet they got a Rancor somehow.
Right.
They got carried.
Clearly. Or they were part of some group who were doing Q syncing with people just taking a fall. So if you see people who, well, this is it. There may be a legitimate reason. It seems pretty bloody unlikely, but all we can do is report it and hope they get caught. And at this point, I reckon BioWare would actually take the Rancor away if this was a clear case of cheating. But
well, I think I actually can explain how that happened. See, all that luck I don't have getting Warzone pops that I want, they got all my luck. They are my polar opposite.
Right, and they just ended up with really terrible players.
Yeah.
Even worse than they were whenever they...
and someone else did all the work for them. How much luckier could you possibly get?
Fantastic. So, yeah.
Glad I can help.
All right. Okay, Alex Geslin wrote, a little-known fact about Darth Barris. When the Great War ended, he went on to become the galaxy's #1 competitive eater. So, if you've done is it the Inquisitor story that he's in, or is it the Warrior one?
Warrior.
It's the Warrior one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know Darth Barris, and yeah, he's a
big boy.
He was a skinny gentleman in the comics. Very.
Oh,
skinny.
Really?
Yes.
That must be that
old skinny man.
So the comics were during the Great War.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. I had noticed that early on when I first played the Warrior story.
Right. Cracker wrote in, this week's WTF bug, can you spot it? The map doesn't seem to be designed for a game with the awkward camera controls SWTOR has.
And I'll include the link in the show notes. And
I looked at this and I was not able to figure out what he was pointing at, but I was looking at it on my iPhone and maybe just couldn't make out details or something.
There isn't meant to be that big purple image immediately sort of popping up. There isn't like a hologram of a big, some sort of worm. I believe that. Yeah, that texture's supposed to be up on a wall somewhere, so it's like the texture's been kind of moved, so it's actually appears to be straight in front of them, blocking access to the platform.
Huh.
There's a platform straight in front of them.
This is the doorway on the new hut
that is
wall
what I
that
thought.
blocks you. This is normal.
Right? Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
That's a rotworm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
There's a frog dog equivalent on the other side.
Oh, alright. Maybe I should do Hubble. Anyway, sorry, keep going. So what is the bug?
I have no idea.
Take it all back.
There's 4 seconds left before the game begins, and somebody's out there with the ball.
Oh, you're right, because
Oh, wow.
the ball light is off to the side and it's purple.
Now,
Yeah.
see, they had this exact same thing with original Hut Ball early after launch. There was some way that you were able to jerry-rig your way through the door
Right.
and be able to run out, grab the ball, and score at least once before the door would open and the rest of the team would actually come out.
I think
They
there was
ran-
a patch note about that, actually.
They ran away with a bunch of problems like that with Void Star too. Lots of ways to jump
Yes.
that field.
Yes. And
So it
was
looks like
almost
people
a
are
year
figuring
after
this
they
one
fixed
out now.
And in 2.7.1 in the patch notes, the hut ball can no longer be picked up before the match begins.
Right,
The
so they-
hut ball
they
is-
basically
yeah,
disabled
it
the
has
ball.
been fixed.
To sort of, that's not, I don't know if that's really fixed, but yeah. It's at least a way to keep them from having the ball before other people.
They really shouldn't let it spawn until like 10 seconds after the game
Yeah, a few
begins.
seconds after, exactly. Try to figure out what's the very quickest that someone could actually get to it.
Which actually, it's not even 10. It's probably more like 5. It's pretty quick, but...
Pretty quick. But still. Alright. And we're skipping Oof along, so...
Just all the way to Sarlacc Digest, I
Yep,
think.
trying to find it here. Okay. And that will bring us to the Sarlacc Digest, where we go over the issues for 1,000 years. And, well, Red, did you want to start taking this over right away? Yep,
You're muted.
You're muted.
Absolutely. So, as fair warning to anybody in the chat room as well as any listener, there will be spoilers involved in this. What we are going to be talking about is the story that we have now been exposed to. What is this new story arc? Where is it leading? What is the expansion about? Trying to probably come up with crazy, wild speculation, but I am going to be laying out everything that we've seen. If you actually intend to do this...
So we're going to include the Korban and the Tython flashpoints on both sides, and then the in-game mails that come afterwards. Is that right?
Correct. Every single advanced class gets every advanced class gets the same in-game mail from their respective person that's guiding them through the flashpoint. So Shan on the pub side and Lara on the imp side.
Mm-hmm.
But they also receive unique individual letters for each, not advanced class, but base class, so 8 of them. And it's from someone within their class story, and you get different information from each of those. Not every one of them seems to give information that could be at all relevant, but we will be talking about those things that might. And we will also be referencing what we've seen from the State of the Galaxy report, as well as some thumb drive information from community cantinas.
Okay.
I'm not getting into data mined information that we might have gotten or anything like that, although if you guys end up wanting to contribute that, that's fine. But I did want to say this is a Sarlacc Digest. After this is a wrap-up in the show notes. So if you don't want any kind of spoilers...
Though
not
we
gonna
should
be-
say it's pretty mild as far
Right.
as go. So.
Yeah.
We're not going to
it's
go
speculative.
deeper. Right. And even those that might have been class spoilers back in the day, it's actually relevant because it's all been revealed on Makeb already anyway. So, that being said, moving forward, I'm assuming all three of you have actually done the imp and the pub side flashpoints?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So we have... Oh, I'm also leaving it up to you guys because I don't have enough screen space. You get to watch the chat room and have them contribute if you want to.
Okay.
Sure.
And to be fair, I did watch the one of the Dolphy videos to make up for it, but it turns out doing it in the French client is harder to understand because I've never seen those conversations, unlike the class stories. So yeah, so
Excellent.
I learned very little actually doing it. I actually learned more by going back and then watching the Dolphy videos.
Okay. And to sum up, and you guys can interject as you like, for the pub side and the imp side. On the pub side, you are told, hey, the war is definitely on. We finally have gathered the resources to go ahead, and we're going to do an actual assault on the Empire. We're going to hit them at their heart. We're going to go hit Korriban. We go to Korriban, we attack, we get to the end, there's one guy left because we actually get into the council chambers. One council member is left. You defeat him, you don't kill him, and then you don't get a choice. This other Jedi just comes wandering in. The guy says, oh, you weren't here to kill me. The old man was right. This guy will kill me. And then this Jedi just walks up to him and chops his head off. Depending on how conversation goes, he does actually make comment to the fact, like, you ask him, what is this prophecy thing? And he's like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Which can bear some relevance. Moving on. You go back to the fleet, you have a conversation for the pub. I find it relevant that you start to talk to him. They say, hey, man, this was great, this was successful. And then you ask him, hey, so now that we've already hit Korriban, what about hitting Dromund Kaas? And he says, I don't see that there's any problem with that. In fact, that might be something that we plan next. And then somebody comes charging in the room and interrupts him and says, oh my gosh, Tython's been attacked. Okay, so then you go and defend Tython. When you get to the final boss fight in Tython, you meet this guy who doesn't talk to you.
Right.
Straight up, just doesn't talk to you.
Won't talk, yes.
Right. And then you defeat him. Somebody remind me how that wraps up. Oh, your people come in afterwards. They say, okay, we've got
light
this.
side, dark side choice. Yeah.
That's right. Well, in the middle, you've got the light side, dark side, which is identical to the Imperials, which is if you've returned to your home planet, hey, there's these people here. Should we kill them, or should we, should we just let them go to safety, or should we conscript them into fighting for us? But essentially, you go back as the pub, and you get to the conversation with Shan and this military guy that you've been talking to, and it seems quite evident that the military guy was aware that you were attacking Korriban not particularly for the reasons you were told. You weren't just going there as a military engagement, but in fact, he had some sort of strange agenda, and Shan meets you in the cantina afterwards and sits down and talks to you, and let's see. That conversation basically goes, yeah, I'm Satil's. Yes, I was just talking to Satil, my mother. She's not very talkative. We don't talk that often. And then he basically gives you the lowdown. Listen, there's definitely something going on. I'm kind of curious how I should go about this. And you ask him, well, if someone else were perhaps to look into it, what would you have them do? And then he gives you the laydown of basically, hey, if I knew that there was someone I could trust, then I would probably remember that, go and try and find information and everything and contact him later so that he could track down any more information, a.k.a. there's going to be more coming later.
Right.
The imp side is essentially the same basic premise, except rather than having a SIS agent, you've got a... is he a council member? I don't think he is. Anyway, a high up Sith dude and another woman, Lara, who is this new concept art who has the coolest eyes in the game, as far as I'm concerned.
She's the blonde one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's the one with the pupils with yellow and red. Yeah. Yellow circles of pupils and red circles of the yellow. Right. So.
And really thick-looking yellow hair.
Yeah, they didn't do a very good job animating that hair.
Yeah.
It's a cool hairstyle, but it clips all over the place.
She's an android. Just calling
it. You heard it
I've
here
got
first.
theories about who she is. Because, as opposed to the Shan character, Shan is straight from the novels, and he tells you straight up, yes, Satil Shan is my mom. Lara, we don't know anything about her. There's no backstory. So anyway, they send you out, you go there, you actually, on Korriban, no wait, you go to Tython first. So you go to Tython, and who do you take out there? Can't remember.
You take out the first one is a commando.
Oh, halfway there? Yeah.
No, but what's the final boss fight?
Oh, one of the. I don't know if he was a council member because I don't really remember him, but I think it was a Twi'lek, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, you take him. Nothing particularly special happens in that conversation. It gets more interesting once you go back and you're defending Korriban, and then you come across the same Jedi that killed the council member of the Empire. And he now all of a sudden says, as you defeat him, and you try to save him, but in fact you aren't able to. No matter what you choose, you can't save him.
Right.
He just ends up dying from his wounds or whatever. But he also says, oh my gosh, I didn't realize the prophecy's true. I'm dying now. I thought it would be later, or something along those lines. So all of a sudden now he does know about prophecy. Which, presumably, he didn't seem like an exactly honest Jedi Knight light side personality type anyway. He might have been lying the first time you asked him about prophecy, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about.
I would agree with that, because if you remember when he kills the Sith Lord just drew a saber and stood there. It wasn't like he was bearing it, he wasn't getting ready to attack, he just turned the saber on for the sake of turning the saber on.
Yeah, that's right. There is no defense involved in his slaughtering that guy.
Exactly, and even the Jedi himself said he had his saber out. That's a threat. I'm removing the threat.
Which is funny because I actually think in that entire exchange, the Sith character seemed more Jedi, and the Jedi character seemed more dark.
I agree.
So anyway, that's the basic premise. So you have that. You then go back to the fleet, and Lana gives you a little bit of a different spin, but essentially the same information, which is... Oh, actually, no, one big thing is, when you finish the first chapter of Attacking Tython, you overhear a conversation between the dude above Lara, talking to Go, who is the silent guy you attack later. It is Lana? Okay.
According to Ben, yeah.
Okay, so Lana, before you speak to her via holocom in order to report your success, you overhear a conversation with... hell, I'm just going to go down to the bottom of my notes here. His name starts with an A, Arcos. Arcos is the handler of the situation, basically, and he has sent you out, but you overhear him talking to Go, the silent guy you defeat on the Republic side, and he's railing at him, saying, of course you can't find it. They don't want you to be able to find it. You keep looking. And then you talk to her. She doesn't know that you've overheard this. She just says, good job. You try to get information from her. She says, hey, come on back. You go on back. You try to get information from them. They dodge and weave, and then she says, I'll talk to you afterwards. Same basic thing as on the Republic side. When you go and meet her in the cantina, though, she does say, as a Force sensitive, that for some reason she's feeling something in the Force. Something is making her uncomfortable. This is important because presumably she's got some kind of clue where we're going with this. And what also I did want to mention, if you are a warrior, why you can't feel it if she does. And he says, well, so the warrior says he should sense the growth as well, the growth of this strange feeling in the Force. Lana replies that she feels that she alone feels this because she's tied to it somehow. So perhaps something to do with her backstory connects her with it, and we don't know what her backstory is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it from the cinematics. What do we want to know? Really, we want to know, clearly, someone's been telling prophecies. Clearly, someone, something, somehow is orchestrating both sides, both factions, to go attack one another simultaneously, not for the stated goal of, giving a blow to the other side, but actually they're looking for something in each of these locations.
Right.
Who might this be? And Where's this story going?
All right, so let's mention Simon's theory. The Revenites, forged alliances could be reference to the Starforge from KOTOR with Revan, yada yada.
And
So
in
let's
the,
just
in the
throw
lines
that
of
out.
Forge, yeah, and in the lines of Forged, actually, you can take this all the way by what's the definition of Forged? So of course you've got the ship, but the definition of Forged itself is, to create a relationship, or to forge a check, to fake something.
Yep.
Or to forge onward, to move forward. The obvious one is there's some kind of alliance being formed somewhere. Although whether or not that's actually between the Republic and the Empire, we don't know. Faked is actually something that would be kind of cool. Like, whoever's orchestrating this behind the scenes is actually faking alliances. They think they're working with him, but in fact this is all fake, but I think that's a little far-fetched.
Indeed.
And move forward just doesn't make sense. So do you want to talk about the Revenites?
No.
First? I mean, we can start there. So far I've come up with 6 basic and 1 obvious. I mean, the obvious is something completely new. Let's stop talking. Something we can't draw from. Although, actually, what we mentioned earlier in this show is that they actually said, with this expansion and other information, we are drawing from previous content. Which, our last major story arc was the Dreadguard, and they were pulled from a single planet story occasion for a single class on the Imperial side.
Sure.
So there's no reason why they couldn't pull something from one class's something that happened in their class.
Or it could be completely new, as you said. But, sure. All right, mention the Gree, because they are the next one that's most obvious.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, what do we know? The whole Gree event is them coming to us and examining us, testing us for something. But then we kind of help them in Terror from Beyond. So...
Right, because it's only on the pub side that you have that class story, or not class, but planet storyline for Coruscant, where they've got this C2 unit that is
where you earn the
them
bisector title.
Yeah, all the bisector crap. And honestly, a lot of what you had learned about them before they came out with the Terror from Beyond storyline actually made them seem a little bit more villainous until they show up and ask for help.
And they did sort of set up a race for us, which was kind of cool. So,
yeah.
Could they really be bad guys?
Well, we also know that they're an ancient race that basically controlled the galaxy at one point before they sort of disappear. They more or less left the galaxy and are sort of slowly returning, apparently. And we do know that they were technologically advanced very early on, and so these references to some sort of weird device or whatever that these people are looking for, they could be Gree technology of some sort.
Yeah, and they might be coming back to gather up their own technology, The strange part to it, though, for me, when it comes to the Gree, is the fact that they're supposed to be super technologically advanced. Anyway, why would they need to... And do they really have the contacts within both governments to orchestrate this kind of behind-the-scenes utilization? How would they pull it off?
Well, they've already got a presence on Coruscant. Early on in the Republic story, there's a presence of the Gree on Coruscant.
True.
Through their
but with the absolute distrust of the Empire with anything alien, what's their motivation to...
Power. It's always with the Empire. Everything goes after power.
So maybe the Gree are promising some of these key agents some form of power.
In typical Imperial fashion, they could just be simply agreeing, in a matter of speaking, to support the Gree, but in actuality, like the Empire would, the moment they've got within reach of what they want, close enough that they can go ahead and grab it, they'll take it and they'll kill anyone that tries to stop them. So they will stab their so-called allies in the back.
Take their cookies, kill the others.
Yes. They'll have their cake and they'll eat it too. And then they'll dump the crumbs on your chest while you're bleeding out. That's how the Empire does it. Most of the time.
And then the flip side of that too is where the
they
prophecies
don't-
come from. Then
Right, and they don't necessarily need to be allies with the Gree. Either side does. I mean, they both could have simply, got caught wind of some of these artifacts or whatever, without actually having close allied ties with them. So.
right. Okay, so I want to actually jump to the next one, which I think is fairly obvious, but I don't think it's very strong. Although there are some indications that could push it there. The Shroud.
Oh. From the macro binocular quests and all that?
Yeah, and from the State of the Galaxy report. What's interesting, though, is that at the end of his report, he actually says, let's see, those losses are particularly worrying so he's been losing agents. These losses are particularly worrying as they lack the typical fingerprints of our usual adversaries. Assets R10 and I4 have been assigned to investigate. I will not admonish the rest of you to be on your guard, as vigilance is a basic skill I expect from all of you. Blah, blah, blah. So it seems like he's not the one orchestrating it. He's losing some agents, and that might be where this, something else is going on. But at the same time, you have from the Warrior letter that he receives. Oh wait, no, it's not the Warrior. It's the Agent. Agent gets his letter, and it says, "This is really confusing to me. Overheard a curious story about an old adversary resurfacing to play his games with his toys," which does sound like the Shroud. It also follows it up with, "I sometimes wonder if you were drawn into this particular shroud of deceit, and how you might have handled yourself."
No. This could be one of two things. It could either be Watcher X, because
That's
he's still out there,
the other option, yeah.
or remnants of the Star Cabal, which was the primary adversary.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Because you got to think, a super secret organization that has been turning the galaxy to its will for who really knows how long. Do you think that one person is really going to be able to bring them to their knees in the course of a year?
I totally forgot about the Star Shroud, and the Master X seemed like a great idea.
Watcher X is definitely going to come
Watcher
back
X.
into play at some point. I absolutely guarantee it.
So that's interesting too. Now, and I actually think the only thing that the only way that the Shroud could actually be involved in these first flashpoints could be that he's actually manipulating some assets within the governments in order to cause them to attack so that he can gain access to this information, just because he has done similar behaviors in the past. But I think it's all way too open for his behavior, especially since he's been exposed once. And I just don't think it's him. Also, I think his story's a little weak, and I believe that they're probably going to have in the next serious content expansion more side story about him, like they had in McKeb, but they're going to continue to develop him, and he's going to be something they use later.
From the chat, the guys were talking about the Rakata. Could we actually be bringing those guys back into it?
I really don't think the Rakata are going to play that much more of a role at this point.
I'd agree.
I kind of feel like they moved away.
Well, they're still going to poke out here and there, but for all intents and purposes, the Rakata are done.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be done too. And the flip side of it too is the Consular has an entire army of their arch nemesis.
The Eshka, yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, well, okay, you guys come back here, we slaughter you.
So we never did make it to Rakata Prime.
True.
What about the references to Manan? Given that is clearly coming to the game.
Now, is that
Simon made a joke about the Selkath being the ones responsible, which seems a tad unlikely.
No.
So
here's
is that
a
just coincidence, Carla, or what?
Has there been data mined information that actually presents Manan as a certainty? Because I can tell you, the letters I've been hearing reference to first, everybody references the wrong letter. It's the Consular. It's not the bounty hunter. It's
Whatever.
not the trooper.
Keep going.
But it's one line. Where is it? It's all it is the very last line in the letter. this dude who's been talking to you says, okay, I got to get back to what I'm doing, and he says, we're landing on Manon now to negotiate Kolto rates. But a lot of
What
these
leads
letters
us
have
to
been
believe?
landing on other letters.
Yeah,
On other
what leads us
planets.
to believe that we'll be going to Manan is the fact they're adding all this Selkath art into the game.
Okay, which that leads us to the
Community Cantina.
yeah, the thumb drive.
That's what I'm talking about.
There it is.
That's where that came from.
Yeah, at which the if you read the text, it actually says, take a look at it in-game exclusive concepts, including new variants of the aquatic Selkath. Okay, so we've got some new skins for the Selkath, known across the galaxy for adopting a policy of strict neutrality. Also, get ready to meet a new Wookiee NPC who plays a role in the Forged Alliance's storyline. So the Wookiee plays a role. They don't say that Selkath do. Now, granted, I totally understand that could be a dodge, and that we need all these skins in order to have NPCs on the planet.
Let's just assume Manan is in.
But these... Okay, I'm okay with that, but I'm also saying, like, this screenshot looks awfully similar to the artwork we got when we were introduced a new playable race, the Cathar.
They're not going to make the Selkath playable
No,
race.
that will not be a playable race.
So, otherwise, beyond that, that's the only information we've got about Manon concerning this storyline.
Yep. So presumably irrelevant as far as the story goes.
So far, and I'm actually more curious, like, that might be an ultimate destination.
I'd say a stop on the way, a site for some flashpoints, but that's all.
Right. Okay, so that's the Shroud. That's the Gree. That's Watcher X. I like that idea actually a lot. So Watcher X is in the agent storyline, but he's kind of like the head of the SIS, but he had been imprisoned, except he gets out, and he's super smart, like super smart, and has the pull where he could, since the Imperial SIS has been decommissioned, he might even have access to assets in the Republic that have been abandoned, and pulling some strings in order to make to orchestrate this sort of stuff. I do really like. What's the name of the Star? What?
Star Cabal?
Starforge.
No, Star Cabal. Yeah, the
What's
Star
a Star?
Cabal from that storyline is the. You really don't get the full story until Corellia, but they're a hidden organization that doesn't care about the Force users, but they've actually been pulling strings and manipulating a lot of stuff. They're kind of like the Illuminati.
Yeah, essentially.
And that could be that's actually a really interesting one that I hadn't thought about. Next, Malgus. We got to talk about Malgus. Malgus fell down a hole. We've learned in Star Wars, you fall down a hole, you're coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a virtual guarantee. The Emperor fell down a hole. I know the EU is now thrown out, but this game was written when it wasn't. Emperor fell down a hole, he came back. Darth Maul fell down a hole. Canon, he came back. Luke fell down a hole. Canon, he came back.
Boba
Hell,
Fett.
Boba Fett fell down a hole. I mean, might have been alive, but he came back. So
Well,
essentially, Malgus should come back.
Maybe. All right. What about Revan as just another supervillain?
Okay, so Revan and the Emperor both have some really interesting layover. So let's just talk about both of them at the same time and which could be more likely. The difficulty with Revan. Well, do you think Revan could be a boss fight?
No. Again, no. No, if anything, Revan from this point on is going to be the Republic's Obi-Wan. Blue Ghost. I suspect that's where this is going to go. And that will give Theron Shan the opportunity to meet his ancestor. It'll tie in that way for the Republic. How that works for the Empire, maybe the next iteration of the Voice of the Emperor will come out, and the Emperor wants the Empire to do some stupid stuff that will lead to them being devoured by his endless hunger. But going to your idea on the prophecy, why can't we just bring back something else from this game itself? The Voss. That's what the Mystics do.
Ooh, good call.
Why couldn't have maybe the Star Cabal, or Watcher X, or maybe several different people have had visions relayed to them that a great darkness is coming over the galaxy, and only by doing this, this, and this will they possibly be able to stop it? And in doing so, these people who went to have their own Force visions, just like every player character did, because who says it's limited to the player character? Maybe they all saw what their ultimate destiny was going to be.
And we do have evidence that even though at the end of the Voss storyline it seems like the Voss are 100% neutral, we have evidence later in the game that the Voss have taken, individual Voss have reached out and aligned themselves with one side or the other. So it could be a prophecy that's being driven. Because that's my big thing, is I think a lot of people expect that this prophecy itself is nefarious. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be a bad motivating force where these prophecies are coming from, just they're straight up prophecies that have been shared.
Could be.
Maybe
it's the Voss for the Republic, and the Emperor has given his own visions.
Well, it's easy enough that whoever's pulling the strings or the machinations might be aware of the prophecy and has just simply gotten people from both sides to go talk to the prophet.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've been sent, at which point the person pulling the strings doesn't actually have to tell anyone what to do. They're just following the prophecy, pursuing it, So that's actually a pretty interesting theory. Back to Revan. Interesting things. This is what everybody wants. I'm just not sure about Revan. Revan just doesn't appeal to me. And like one of my friends said, it's too... Huh?
So let's be clear. At the end of the Foundry, he just disappears in a flash of light. So
right. You bring him down to 1%.
Survived. So he didn't fall into a hole like the Emperor. He actually did just disappear.
Obi-Wan. He just disappeared into a bundle of robes and a lightsaber.
Yeah, no robes.
Yeah, there were no clothes left behind. He just seems to have slipped away.
That's the thing, is that Obi-Wan's robes were really loose, but Revan's suit is extremely tight-fitting.
Right. So let's assume that Revan has survived. Why wouldn't you consider him to be the antagonist here?
He has the opportunity. He has the resources with the Revanites on the Imperial side. He had the Jedi free him based off of his Force Ghost. Both sides have there are certainly going to be people within both sides that will trust him, and who may have actually reached up into positions where he can speak to them and ask for a favor.
To be clear, though, the Revanites are a bunch of crazies.
Yes.
I'm not denying that. not denying that at all. But he does, and I would think actually more likely if it were Revan that Revan has always kind of never really taken a side aside from the fact that it seems like he tends to turn. But if he knew of an impending doom, I could see him pulling the strings of both sides because the people in power don't trust him, but the people that trust him would be willing to go to bat for him. And maybe there's something that's coming that he needs some ancient knowledge, because he's always been about gathering the information for himself, training himself, doing whatever it takes in order to defend against whatever he's decided he's defending against, or to pursue his agenda, whatever it is. The interesting idea is this could tie into the Emperor. At the end of the McKeb storyline, the Republic makes a very galactic-wide public announcement that the Emperor has been killed. Mm-hmm. That they've sent in agents and the Emperor is dead. Though in many locations we get hints and suggestions that he may not actually be dead. And we don't even need to talk about how it is that he's not dead.
If specifics.
Yeah, right. We don't need those specifics because there's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah. Either way.
Right. There's plenty of opportunity to be alive, but we also know from the Imperial storyline that he's not communicating with the Council. The Council is running free right now. And the Council might have been running free long enough that they feel like they'd be better off without the Emperor, and let's be honest, the Emperor's never been particularly loved. He's just long-lived. It could lead towards that. Now, that could bring Revan back in because Revan is deeply tied to the Emperor, and he might be able to tell that even though the entire galaxy thinks the Emperor is dead, he's not. The Emperor is trying to do whatever it takes for him to come back. to repair himself, to heal up, to do whatever, for whatever reason he's out of the spotlight. Maybe he's just being out of the spotlight because it serves his own purposes that the Republic thinks he's dead. But Revan might actually be preparing, since he knows that the Emperor is alive, he might be orchestrating some of these things to gather information to begin training himself in order to prevent the Emperor. You could have both sides. You could create a situation where both sides would actually want to take on the Emperor. The flip side of that is that the last expansion ended with the Republic making a public statement that the Emperor's dead. The Emperor might actually be orchestrating all of this through whatever machinations he has in order to be able to heal up and return to the throne. And it could just be that with this next expansion, the end of the story is the Empire now announces the Emperor's back, and it's not actually about a boss fight.
I mean, with the exception of Chapter 1's ending of the Jedi Knight story, there has never actually been a single person in the game that has seen the Emperor. And even then, that might not have been the Emperor. Because we know that the Emperor has many proxies that he operates through, whether it's the hands, the wrath, or the voice.
Yep.
Yeah, and we actually know about quite a few of these. In several locations, they talk about the fact that he uses people for certain specific roles. Mm-hmm. Barris himself claims to be this,
Well,
but
he was trying to convince everyone that he was.
Right, and so, but for whatever reason, the Emperor is quiet right now. I really do believe the Emperor is back. I don't know if they're going to bring him back now, or, are they going to create an environment where everybody wants to kill him, even the Empire? It's doable. It's doable.
He'll be an Isotope 5 powered android.
There you go.
The whole disappearance of the Emperor has everything to do with Revan, though, because when the Emperor tried to get his way into Revan's mind, Revan was able to get into the Emperor's mind. That's why the attacks on the Republic essentially stopped. That's why they were docile for 300 years. The moment the Republic freed Revan, they also freed Revan's control over the Emperor, which the Emperor had never realized. And that's when everything starts rolling forward.
He's the reason that they were able to reach a peace accord at all.
The worst version of the Emperor, of the stories about the Emperor, is that eventually he's going to wipe out all life in the galaxy. Essentially, I mean, he's eventually going to become like this sort of rolling death bomb that's going to wipe out entire worlds one at a time until the entire galaxy is nothing but a dead husk. If that turns out to be the case, then you can see him easily becoming the focal point of an expansion, the sort of the ultimate end operation boss that both sides would be completely willing to fight against at that point.
That's actually an excellent point, because the other thing is he could actually be on a planet of his very own, and he's been sitting there stockpiling, prepping himself for anybody to come after him, and been using all of these proxies for every end, and no matter where anybody has ever thought the Emperor ever was, it might just be someone else. And then you finally sort this out and go after him eventually. Because the threat that the Emperor poses is actually far worse than the threat that the Dreadguard posed.
Absolutely.
Let's start wrapping this up. Can you bring it to a conclusion next couple of minutes?
Yes. All right. There are just a few things I want to address. I'm going to run through my notes real quick to make sure what I didn't miss. Okay, cover that. Okay, and I'm almost done. Okay. Here's my creepy theory, right?
All right.
Because in that conversation where the warrior asks Lana why he doesn't feel this stirring in the Force or whatever it is that she's feeling, she says it's because she has a direct connection to it. What if it's more direct than we ever gave it precedence for? Shan, son of Steel. Lana, daughter of the Emperor. That could lend credence to the Emperor rising.
What?
And the reason that no one else, even proxies of the Emperor, feel him is because she's the only one that is actually blood. That's way off the deep end. But like I said, creepy theory.
Yeah.
There's not enough space Viagra in the galaxy.
It's like super creepy, right? But we got no backstory on her. We don't know. And obviously she's going to tie into this somehow.
Sure.
I think maybe Darth Mars' child would be a much, much, much closer guess. Related to the Dark Council, certainly. Emperor, I'm not buying it.
I did also want to run through here and note that in each of these letters, we have references to Sabik, Dajarik, a bunch of different mini games. You know,
You
like
highlighted them in red, I noticed.
yeah, this has nothing to do with what the story's going towards. But come on, tell me those are totally teasers for Strongholds or Guild
Or
Ship.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Guild
It'll be
Ship might be a
selectable,
good
but
place
not
to
playable.
congregate and play against your guildies, but.
Road is
It'll be
running
a
out of
real great thing
time.
to stare at.
So, but yeah, beyond that, that's everything I've got. We've Emperor agreed, Malgus. Somebody new's the only one that's up in the air that we haven't talked about. You could talk about the consular with the Rakata army, you know, the anti-Rakata army. Maybe something goes wrong or they lose control of that, or the rest of them actually start to, you know, bleed out. But I think we've pretty much, I think we've really pretty much covered everything from what we know. And again, we have to end this just by saying it could be something completely new.
Indeed.
Right, and we will have in our show notes all the various texts of these in-game mails, so if you don't happen to do it on...
No, we won't.
Oh, we're not?
Mhm.
Okay, we're going to take those out, huh?
Uh-huh.
All right, so is there anything else then? Okay, then that's the show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our
Utini Rage!
Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then ask for the quiz that lets us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're on @UtiniCast. I Twitter under my own name @Brandon L. Starr. EMTU uses his name @Jason Etheridge. Road Twitters under @ThatRoadGuy. And Red Twitters under @R3DN4. Or you can watch him on twitch.tv/R3DN4. Check out our website, OotiniCast.com, which has links to our presence on Google Plus and Facebook. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. We're also on Stitcher. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thank you to the chat room. And thank you, Road and Red.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you next week.
Alright guys, stop your recording now. Chat room, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We just need to tie this up pretty quick, so we'll just say see you later now. We do have an interview with Jesse of Hot Pants Republic. It should be published on Monday. I forgot to mention that during the show, so look for that. See you next week. Stopping